Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Min, and today I want to talk about the 5 best online savings accounts in 2020. So if you've got $5,000 sitting around doing nothing like I do, well, I'm going to show you where you can put this money so it can earn you a little bit of interest for doing absolutely nothing. And the best part of it all is there's absolutely no risk and you don't have to do anything to earn that money. So stay tuned. So if you're like most people, you probably have a bank account in your local city, just like me, and it's been serving you well for a long time. But did you know that that money that you have parked in there isn't making you any money? The average interest rate that the banks pay you is 0.09%. It's not even 1%. That's like 1/10 of 1%. And so that money that you have parked in there is literally making you $0. And the banks love this because they take your money and actually loan that money back out to other people that need to buy houses or cars or boats. And they're charging those customers anywhere from 3% to 8% to even 18%. It really depends on what kind of loans people are taking from them. And by paying you 0.09% on your money, they're taking your money and making a ton of money with it. So let's say you had $10,000 sitting in a savings account at your local bank and they're paying you 0.09%. Well, every year they're paying you $9 in interest. Yes, that's $9. That's barely enough to buy lunch. This is the bank's best kept secret for a long time. People don't really know where to put their money to make money. People are so afraid to lose their money that they'll just leave it in there because they know that that balance will never go down, and they're not even worried about the fact that they're not going to make any money with that. But the reality is, guys, you guys are losing money. That money sitting in there is losing to inflation. Inflation is 2 to 3% every year, and you're only making 0.09%. And so that money is losing its value the longer it sits in there. Well, the good news is you found this video, and I've been doing a lot of research for you guys to figure out where you can park this money to make the most of it. Now, don't go close your bank account just yet. You're still gonna need them for a couple things. So the internet is full of surprises. You'll actually find that there are online savings accounts that are willing to pay you up to 1.85% in interest every year. That's $180 a year for that same $10,000 that you have sitting in your bank. That's over 20 times more than what your local bank is paying you. Now, there are many online savings accounts available for you, but I want to narrow it down to just 5 for you guys to make it a little bit easier for you. Now, I know you're probably wondering, what the heck is an online bank and how do I drive up and get my money? Well, that's why you still need your old bank account. These online banks only operate on the internet and they don't have a physical presence. This is how they can save a lot of money in overhead and pay you a decent interest rate on your money. So I wanted to come up with a couple criteria before I went out and looked for a bunch of savings accounts. And I wanted to make sure that the banks that I chose for you guys were going to be no-brainers, they had no fees, and they weren't going to give you headaches down the road. So let's go over those criteria now. So the first criteria I have is I wanted to make sure that anybody can sign up. This is not a local bank, this is not some random bank in Mississippi. This is a bank that anybody in the US can get and sign up for online. The next important criteria is to make sure that these banks are actually FDIC insured, and so that way your money doesn't disappear and they're actually backed by the federal government. And so all of your local banks that you have today are all FDIC insured, so these banks have the same amount of protection as those banks do. The next criteria I have is to make sure that these accounts require a very low or no minimum balance. And what I mean by that is, let's say you needed all of this money for some reason, you're not stuck keeping a minimum balance in there, let's say $10,000. You can just pull it all out and you can maybe leave $1 in there or maybe $100. But the accounts that I have chosen are going to have very low balances or even no balance needed. The next criteria I have is to make sure that these accounts have no fees. I don't want you guys to sign up for an account where you have to worry about maintenance fees or annual fees. These are fee-free accounts that you can open. And the next criteria is similar to earlier relating to the minimum balance. I want to make sure that there's no requirements to do direct deposits. There's no requirements to put money in. This isn't a checking account, so you shouldn't have to keep depositing money in there. You just park whatever money you want in there that you want as part of your savings account, and you just let it grow without having to think about it. The next criteria I have is that all of the money in the account earns the same APR or APY. And what that means is it doesn't matter how much you put in or how little you put in, you're always going to get that APR rate. I know there's a lot of online accounts out there that I'm not going to mention that will give you like 3% or 4% up to $10,000, and then they'll give you like 0.5% after that. I'm not going to do any of that funny business. These accounts you can put up to probably $1 million or maybe even more, and they're all going to earn the same APY. And then the next criteria, I want to make sure that these banks actually allow you to send money in and out freely. And so the federal government allows you to do 6 convenient transfers. And so I want to make sure that you can move your money into this account and take it out freely whenever you need it. And then the last criteria is to make sure that these banks are at least well known or somewhat established. We don't want a bank that just started last year. They have to have been around for at least 10 years or maybe even longer. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of these, and a lot of the ones in the top 5 are not actually well known. Maybe one of them is. I will share with you guys a list of some well-known ones. They will pay a little bit less interest, but it might make you feel a little bit better knowing that there's a big name backing them. Now I do want to explain the difference between APR and APY, annual percentage rate and annual percentage yield. So APY is the money you're going to make over the course of that entire year with compounding interest taken into account. Let's say you were earning 2% interest, and so by the end of the year, that amount of money that you're making every month or every day is going to be compounded in that year. And so that's how you get to APY. APR is usually a slightly smaller number than APY, but when you see the term APY, that just means that you're going to make that amount of money on the money you have in the account over the course of that entire year. Now, before we get into the banks, I want to mention that I am not affiliated with any of these banks. Some of these banks I have tried, some of them I have not, and some of them I've actually recently signed up for, so I have a little bit of knowledge about them. But I am in no way sponsored by any of these banks. This is just free information and for your education only. So let's get into the banks. So coming in at number 5 is the E-Trade Premium Savings Account. E-Trade is more known for the stock market and trading stocks, but they actually offer an online savings account for you to put your money in. They pay 1.75% APY, they have no fees, no minimum balance, free transfers, a mobile app, and FDIC insured up to $1.25 million. And E-Trade's been around since 1982, so there's nothing to worry about with putting your money here. Now, E-Trade's probably going to bother you with other services if you sign up for this account. They're probably not making a lot of money on this, but the idea is they're probably going to try to sell you on their brokerage account so you can start trading in the stock market and so they can make some money off of you. But again, you're not obligated to do this, and you're free to put your money there to earn 1.75%. Coming in at number 4 is Wealthfront. So Wealthfront is a relatively new company. They've been around since 2008, but they pay a 1.78% APY. They have no fees, no minimums, no monthly maintenance, no deposits needed. You can transfer money from your bank to them for free. They're FDIC insured up to $1 million, and they also have a mobile app. Now, I've used this bank personally, and there's no gimmicks with them. There's no fees ever, and they have a pretty sweet interface to track things like your net worth and all of your assets. Now, Wealthfront may bother you and try to make you invest in one of their accounts, but you can just ignore them because there's no obligation to do that. They're very similar to E-Trade, where they're trying to sell you other services that they offer. You can just leave your money in there and just earn sweet interest. Coming in at number 3 is the Betterment Cash Reserve Account. And so Betterment offers 1.84% APY. They have no fees, no minimum balance required, and no monthly maintenance fees at all. They are FDIC insured up to $1 million. They have free transfers into their accounts and also have a mobile app. And they've been around since 2008. I personally don't have a lot of experience with Betterment, but I hear they have very positive reviews. So Betterment is very similar to Wealthfront in that they just want your money in there so that way they can sell you some of their other products. So their hope is that you'll transfer some of that money from your savings into the investments, and so that way they can make some money off of you. But you have no obligation to do that. You can just leave it in the cash reserve account for as long as you want and earn that 1.84% APY. Coming in at number 2 is Vile Bank's High Yield Online Savings Account. They pay a 1.85% APY. This bank is very similar to the other ones, but the only difference it has is that it requires a $100 minimum balance to open. And so there are no fees associated with this account either. They are FDIC insured up to $250,000, and they also have a mobile app as well. This bank's been around since 1911, so there's not very much to worry about with them, and they also allow free transfers into their accounts. And coming in at number 1 is HSBC's Direct Savings Account. And so they pay a 1.85% APY, they have no fees, they have free transfers from your bank into theirs, they also have a mobile app, and they are FDIC insured up to $250,000. This bank's been around since 1865, so there's really nothing to worry about. And the only reason why they're number 1 is because they only require $1 compared to Vile Bank. Now, I did mention that I wanted to share with you guys a couple of well-known banks out there in the event that you don't trust any of the ones that I listed. And so there are big name banks out there that do offer online savings accounts. So Marcus by Goldman Sachs has one. They pay 1.7% APY. Capital One 360 Personal Savings, they offer 1.7% APY. American Express Personal Savings offers a 1.7% APY. And Discover Online Savings offers a 1.6% APY. Now all of these are the same. They have no fees, no minimum balances, no monthly fees. And really the only difference is that they have a bigger name backing them, and it might make you feel a little bit better putting your money there than some of the other banks that I mentioned earlier. And so if you're interested in these banks, I'll leave a link for them down below as well. Just know that they're gonna pay a little bit less interest for you, but at the end of the day, it's still gonna be more than what your local bank's paying you. So now that you've seen all the banks, I wanna talk about some of the cons associated with having an online savings account. So let's get into the cons. So the first con that I have is the fact that there is no physical building or ATM or presence that you can go to get your money. You can't just go up to any bank and pull out your money. You actually have to log into the portal online and actually initiate a transfer back to your checking account or savings account. And so that's the only way you can get your money back. And sometimes that can take anywhere from 1 to 2 business days. And so if you need money instantly, that could be a problem for you. Now this might be a good thing as well because this is your savings account and you do want to have a little bit of barrier so that way you don't actually touch that money. And so that 1 to 2 days may actually be a positive thing, but I'm going to list it as a con anyways. The second con with online savings accounts is the fact that those interest rates that they're paying you can change pretty much anytime they want. And so when the Fed decides to cut the rate, then most likely the banks are going to cut the rates as well. And so that 1.85% may turn into 1.7%. But the nice thing about the rate is it's always going to be more than your local bank. So just be aware that let's say you watch this video and it's 1.85% today and you sign up, it might change to 1.5% down the road. It may even go up. And so that's just something to consider. But just remember that you will never lose money from a savings account. You'll just earn a little bit less. The next con is the fact that these interest rates are very low. And so these savings accounts are probably never gonna go above 3%. And so you're never gonna beat inflation, you're never gonna beat the stock market, you're never gonna beat any other investment. The interest that you're making on these savings accounts shouldn't be considered investments. This is more to combat inflation and to make sure that your money is actually doing something. I don't suggest you put all of your money in here because it doesn't make sense. This is money that you have around in the event that you need it for an emergency. But no one's stopping you from putting $100,000 in there or $1 million in there. If you want to play it safe and you just want to make the interest that these companies are paying you, then just put all of your money in there. But I suggest you invest some of it and maybe put only your emergency funds in here. For me personally, I have enough money in my savings account for an emergency fund and also enough for in the event that I want to buy a real estate property and I want to put a down payment. I don't want to have to sell my stocks or sell my investments to put a down payment on a property. And the last con I have, and I don't really think is a con, is the fact that you have to actually pay taxes on the interest that you're paid. And so if you made more than $10 in interest income, you actually have to report it to the IRS and pay taxes. But remember guys, you only pay taxes if you make money. And so before, you weren't making any money at your local bank. You only made $9, so you didn't even meet the requirement to report it on your taxes. If you make over $10, which you will with these accounts, you have to actually report those on your taxes and pay taxes on them. But just remember that for every $100, you're only paying maybe $10 or $15 or $25 in taxes, depending on what bracket you're in. So you always come out ahead, even though you're paying taxes. Don't let that confuse you. So you'll get a 1099 int at the end of the year from these banks, and you'll have to report that on your taxes. So there you have it guys, a bunch of places you can put your money in to make it work for you. I know it's not gonna be a ton of money, but at least it's kind of beating inflation a little bit. It's better than losing or better than making nothing. I mean, you can leave this in your drawer and it'll make no money. Or put this in a savings account and maybe earn $80 a year on it. So go open up one of those accounts, pick your favorite, and start transferring some of your money in there. Make sure you keep your local bank account because you still need them to get money out and in and to transfer money into your new savings account. The idea is that you only have a small amount in that checking account, so that way you can pay for bills and get cash when you need it, and then the rest of it goes into this high yield savings account earning you 1.85%. I promise you they will not steal your money. They are FDIC insured after all, and there are many millions of customers doing this already. If you're just barely learning about this, well, you need to go and put your money there now. A lot of the local banks are not going to tell you about this because there's no way they can beat any of these rates. Even the local bank certificate of deposits or money markets aren't even making this much, and so it makes more sense to just put it in there because these online savings accounts are zero risk. And so once you set up the account, that's all the work you have to do. You just transfer the money in there and it's going to automatically start making you up to 1.85% every year. I just filed my taxes and I made over $1,000 in interest last year, and you can do the same. So what are you waiting for? Stop loaning money to your bank for free. Alright you guys, hopefully that video was helpful. If it was, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with one of your friends. And if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you're aware when new videos are uploaded. And as always, have a nice day.